Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of Why It Matters. I am Justin Knoll. This is Nicole Ruth, and today we are joined by Mr. Thank You himself, John Israel. We cannot wait to get into some really good stuff that we all need to be hearing right now. So here we go. Welcome back, everybody, to Why It Matters, your passport to navigating the ever-changing real estate, mortgage, and economic landscapes with some life hacks thrown in here and there. I'm Justin Knoll.
And I'm Nicole Ruth. We're here to empower you to better serve your clients by staying ahead of the game. We just finished having a class in the back of the room, full room, where we were introduced really to you. Hadn't met you ever in person, Mr. John Israel. I said Ireland earlier. I sure did.
You know, it's okay to call me Ireland. When I was a kid, my football coach could never remember Israel, so I was Johnny Ireland for an entire year of school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did they actually put it on the back of the shirt, too?
No, but I'm Irish, so I'm like that. I'm more Irish than I'm Israeli, so, you know.
All right,
that's how it works.
all right.
So.
No, that's awesome.
I know. I was like, it's all the same thing. It's not actually the same at all. But I so appreciate you coming out here from DFW.
Yep, from Dallas.
Yes. So talk to us a little bit, Mr. Thank You. We want to dive in deep into some of the things that you shared with us in the packed room. And I think it's extremely pertinent, the conversation that you're having for right now. Like we had been introduced, I don't know, a year or two ago originally. And as important as it might have been then, I think it's even more important today. So I'm almost glad that the times worked the way they did. And I want to dive into some of the things that you said specifically, but I want to start with who you are.
Sure.
So if you could kind of share your backstory and how you landed at leading Mr. Thank You and doing the conversations and the talks that you do around the country now.
Sure.
What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, well, so part of this is running a strategic gifting company called Mr. Thank You. That's kind of where the name came from. So we started that in 2009, so great time to start anything in real estate. So we
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, so we help real estate companies, mortgage teams, home builders set up a gifting strategy to love on their most important relationships. So my life has really all been about I'm in the middle between you and who you care about most and making sure that relationship is heightened to the maximum level. So with that,
Could you imagine a life where all you did was give gifts?
I'm
not saying that's all you do, but I think I'm giving up my day job.
Yes, we've talked about this ad nauseum.
By the way, it is super stressful, just like real estate, because for us, we have timing we got to hit. Like, is this going to be here by the event we got, or we have a closing on this day? So there's a lot. So timing is important for us. So we have our own stresses, like any business. But by 2016, we actually built a really successful business. So I was making good money, married, bought our first house, had our first child, expecting our second. But I was at a point where I was just so overwhelmed with my business because a gifting company is just like a real estate company, which is similar with a mortgage company. It's a business. You have clients. You got to get them in. You got to fulfill on your promises. You got to find new customers. You got to keep your clients loyal. So all the same things relate. And so by 2016, I was just really stressed out and ready to walk away from what I had spent my career building. And so it wasn't until I came home one day and had this visual of my wife was just sitting there on her couch, and she was nursing our son and our infant son and in one hand, and then writing handwritten thank you cards with the other hand. And it was this really beautiful moment. But I was so stressed that I couldn't even appreciate it. And it was this moment where I realized, like, that's not okay. Like, I can't live my life with the most beautiful things in front of me and not be able to appreciate it. So I kind of had this epiphany where I realized, like, hey, if you can't appreciate what you have now, who's to say you'll be any happier when you finally get what you say you want? And that idea just planted the seed in my heart that's like, you got to figure this out. Like, it's possible. Like, you've seen people who have success and fulfillment. You're just not doing that right now. So you need to take this part of your life seriously because you figured the business part out, but you haven't figured this fulfillment piece. So then I hired a coach, and he worked with me to build out systems to be more appreciative and more grateful. And ultimately, we landed on a project that became known as the Mr. Thank You Project, where I made this commitment for one whole year to handwrite 5 thank you cards every day for 365 days in a row. And crazily enough, that turned into a book, and then a TED Talk, and then a global movement. So now I get to work with business audiences all over the country, teaching people the competitive advantage of gratitude, because it fits in two capacities. One is stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, right? That is rampant in so many parts of America, but very specifically real estate. And I think that's kind of where it really seemed to land today with a lot of the audience members, people coming up and saying, this is exactly what I needed today. And on the other side of this is, I didn't say this in my message, but my belief over years of being in the gratitude industry is that if you can activate gratitude in the heart of your clients, you can get a client for life. Because if their experience of you is, man, I'm lucky to have you in my life. I'm lucky to have you in my corner to support me in my business and what I'm trying to accomplish. That's someone who you're going to keep for life. Now, that doesn't happen in one transaction or one conversation. It happens over how you build the relationship. So we kind of really build this into frameworks that we teach people of how they can go into their lives, into their business, make gratitude a habit as well as something that's going to deepen their relationships and grow their business.
One of the things you talked about today was a bunch you talked about today that resonated with me. The first thing you said, if you can't appreciate what you have now, who's to say you'll be happier when you do get what you want? And you talked about that a second ago, that perpetual discontent.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing in our world right now is a lot of this, right? It's waiting for the next thing to come, and that next thing comes, and it's, okay, what is the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So it really made me step back and go, okay, what am I trying to do? It made me think, is my vision correct? Is my mission correct in what I'm doing? Makes you dive deeper into what you're actually doing, not just like, oh, I want that thing. It didn't become an object or, this goal of trying to attain. It was, oh my goodness, I might not be aligned like I thought I was. So thank you for bringing that up today, because I really had to reestablish what my appreciation was in this world and what I'm willing to accept as enough or fulfillment. So that was amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So to ask you a question, what are some of those things that for you feel that you got connected with that you can appreciate more than you currently are?
Yeah, I think this is about us asking you questions.
I know, but I thought, when you said that,
now I got to work on it.
When you said that, I was like, well, something was there. What was that?
100%. So for me, it's been this whirlwind. Our market the last few years has been we've been on so much for so long that I've kind of forgot about me, right, for a while, and what I'm working for and what's important to me. So that was number one, was what is my goal? Number two, is it aligned with my partner in this? Is it aligned with what my wife's wanting to do, our team's wanting to do, Nicole's wanting to do, all my people that I'm pouring into and they're pouring into me? We need to get back on track with what that is. And so that was huge for me. The other thing that's it's so interesting, we talked about this before the session today, was this book, and all my friends are like, dude, stop talking about this book, but Unreasonable Hospitality.
Great book.
Yeah, it is life-changing for me. I want to read it again and again and again. I'm sending it out to my coaching clients. I believe if the world could read that book and understand, and read your book and understand, holy cow, what better place we would be in. So the other thing for me is mindset. In the morning, I need to have a better mindset. We've been cranky lately. We've been joking about being cranky lately, and it's tiring. And while it seems funny, it's not. It's not. So this is where I need to be. And pouring into handwriting notes, if you're in a bad mood, it's going to change your mood, right? You're going to get in a better mood. So, and then it goes back to the habit. Right. You talked about the habits and the one habit leading to the next. And if you work out, makes you thirsty, hydrate more. Makes you tired, sleep better.
Right.
Makes you eat better. Like, that was what I need to do. So this, to me, you guys, Mr. Thank You Project is all about getting back to those basic principles of showing my appreciation and gratitude to the world and just letting that be where I'm at. Not anything in return. I don't need anything in return. So that's where I am.
Well summarized. If
Man,
you weren't
I'm
there for the
sweating
whole
like
event,
crazy over here now.
That was a good summary of the whole thing.
Good. You made me think is the point, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So talk about negative bias, and I think this is a big thing, right? The negative bias. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you're putting into your brain is CNN or Fox News or whatever, and here's the next trial, or here's the next polling, and I don't care. I can't care anymore. What am I willing to do in my habits to change that? So the negative bias versus appreciation bias, and I've not heard that before. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that came to be in your world?
Yeah. Well, so there's no shortage of things to complain about, right? Like, that's the easiest thing to do when something's not going your way. The question is it inherently bad? In this moment, it feels like it is, but we don't know what this moment is connected to. Right, we don't know what else is there for me to learn from this experience, or what else is there that this might lead me to later. And so the story I gave was kind of a silly one of being at the airport and being late, right? So I was like frustrated and I'm stressed out because it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get on this plane, but if I miss it, then I miss my connection flight and all that stuff. And so it's easy to get stressed and complain about the traffic, or, oh, I shouldn't have woken up so late, or, oh, that shouldn't have happened over there. So it's so easy to point out all the problems. It's like that's nature. So it's called the negative bias. It's a psychological term where we're prone to look for what's wrong before we look for what's right. And an appreciation bias comes from a different perspective. So the word appreciation comes from the Latin word appreciare, which translates to appraise or set the value of a thing. So when we are coming from a place of appreciation, we're looking at something from a lens of curiosity, asking the question, where's the value? Where's the good? When an appraiser looks at a property, they don't come back and say, well, let me tell you about everything that's terrible. Yeah. They just say, here's what it is. Here's the value, right? And so bringing an appreciation bias to your life is asking the question, where's the good? Where's the value in this person, in this relationship, in this moment? So contrasting negative biases, asking where's the threat, appreciation bias is asking where's the value. And when we can come from a place of an appreciation bias, we're more prone to be looking for what is good and finding it. So the trick, and I think where like we can do that, it's like that, it's kind of a passe thing of like, oh, just write in a gratitude journal. And actually a woman came up and we talked about this a moment ago because she said, what I realize is I can actually be really grateful for people, but I'm not very good at telling them. And so I said, yeah, so the interesting thing about that is having gratitude unexpressed is like buying somebody a present and then putting it in the closet.
Right.
Wow.
Like that's not helping anybody. You know that you did it, but there's something with when you express gratitude or appreciation, there's a level of vulnerability. How are they going to respond? Are they going to think I'm weird? Who knows? So for me, it was a year-long journey of literally just giving away lots of presents. Hey, here's what I think you're great about. Here's what's awesome about you. And it was this very intangible thing to measure, but it was remarkable personally to see how much I felt better on a consistent basis every day, and to just see how many of those things showed back up in my life. People who said, oh my gosh, that letter, you have no idea, that showed up at the perfect time. My wife and I are really struggling right now, and just hearing positive affirmation about myself and feel like the worst human ever. Like you don't know what people are going through. And so by being someone who is known for being grateful and expressing gratitude is actually of high value in our marketplace, especially when things are really challenging.
It hit me especially in this space, in the real estate market, which is why I think I like, oh my God, it'd be just so good to change my careers right now and be thankful all day long. Understanding that it is, in fact, an intense business, but right now, everybody is so intense on waiting, on justifying, on recapturing, on rebuilding, on going back to something, right? It's what we know. We don't know what's in front of us. We have so much uncertainty in the real estate industry right now that people are clinging on to what they knew to be true, which is why for the longest time, and I think it's finally shedding off, is this, well, rates are going to go down when? And so now we're kind of waiting for this date. And I'm like, at some point is kind of like my answer today. We all think that the rates are going to go down at some point. But it's the justification that I can push off improving myself, being a better human, being a better business person, having more clients, installing some of these processes, systems, all the things for when that happens, right? Versus taking advantage of the current state. And it all ties back into this, and I had not heard this appreciation versus this negative bias either. And I think that you and I, Justin, do a really good job of, we tend to give it all away, right? And we say that all the time. Like we give it all away for free. There's no anticipation or expectation of return. And my husband and I have had a saying in our lives, that we give away more than we receive. That's our job, is to empty our cup every day from where we start in the morning. And then it's only with the empty cup that we can get it refilled, right? And so that's how we try to stay in our faith and in our state of grace and gratitude. But it's different when, as you were speaking, when you actually give it to someone. Because we don't although we do things all the time when we teach classes, I don't speak into that individual. and make sure that they're feeling heard and loved and appreciated. Which I think is what struck me today and for everybody that missed our Agent Ignite today, you missed a fantastic session. But I think that's what struck me today is this appreciation versus negative bias, I think is fundamentally creating a human connection, which then in turn creates a greater energy and a whole different level on which you're living at the moment versus where I think a lot of real estate professionals are living at the moment, which is buried in the mire, right?
Yeah.
So I really liked it a lot.
I'm curious on the business side, right, Mr.
Yes.
Thank You, the working business side. You've obviously done a ton of behavioral. We talked about behavioral economist earlier.
Oh yeah, Daniel Kahneman. Yeah.
Yes, super fascinating, right? And I know you're a smart guy. You've poured into your business with knowledge. And what is the cadence of when you're gifting? What are we gifting? Where are better opportunities? Like, I want to get into the nuts and bolts of how our clients want to hear from
I
us.
love that.
So gifting. So man, I have a whole separate training just on gifting because it's such an how do I want to say this? It's like when you do it well, it has the ability to take a relationship to a place that you can never take it to. Or you can get there, but it's over a long period of time, right? So let me give you a great example. So we have a couple specific products that we use, but there's a framework we teach for gifting. It's called the TIME framework, T-I-M-E, timing, item, messaging, and execution. Timing is when do you give it. Most important thing is it's unexpected.
Yep.
Do not bring a gift on closing day.
Thank you. Y'all stop that. It is terrible.
Well, so seriously, when you think about it, where is the client emotionally or mentally? They're overwhelmed. They're thinking about, is this going to happen? Is this going to work out? Their life is also in boxes, so you give them a gift. It's going to go with the boxes, probably lost and forgot about. You might ask them 6 months later, and they're like, oh, I don't remember getting anything. That can really happen. So if you spent the money, you kind of threw it away.
Yep.
So take that exact same gift you spent the exact same money on, and here's what I like to do, is you can personally deliver it if you like that personal touch. You can also ship it. So we do predominantly a drop ship program. Our clients will pre-buy typically about 6 months to a year's supply of gifts.
Okay.
We house them in our warehouse, and then every month they send us their closed transactions. We ship the gifts out one at a time with a personalized thank you letter. But here's the magic of it, is we don't just say, so we send it, number one, at the end of the month, which is usually they get it 15 to 30 days after their closing, which is perfect timing because they're in the house, they're established or settled. The other part here is that we put the thank you letter explaining what the gift is, how to use it correctly, and then we put a PS, shoot me a quick call or text when you get this so we know it arrived okay. That trigger causes the client to call, we found about 60 to 80% of the time. So then when that client calls you, they're coming from a place of gratitude. You just gave them something like, oh my gosh. Now, if you're a smart business person, when you've added value to somebody's life, is a great time to ask for something that you might potentially need. So what we train our clients, we have a whole gifting script that we've crafted, is we do something that, I swear, if every agent did this, you would get so many more referrals every year with no extra money. But here's what it is. So we start with what we call the post-closing conversation. Okay. So how that looks is, let's say, I sold Nicole a house, and I sent her a gift. She calls me back and says, oh, hey, we got your gift in the mail. I'd say, hey, that's awesome. Hey, Nicole, real quick before you go, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for choosing me as your realtor to work with you on this transaction. And our goal in working with you is not just to do this one thing, but to really be your real estate team for life, for anything that you're going to need. There are a couple of ways that we're going to continue serving you over the years. Do you mind if I take a moment to cover those? Sure. Yeah, everyone says, yeah, sure, that's fine.
100% they're going to say yes.
So first of all, one of the things that we do is we do a client appreciation party every year. It's going to be on this date. We hold it at a pumpkin patch. We do that so you can come and bring your family. You can take pictures. Everyone gets a free pumpkin, so you're going to get an invitation about that. So make sure you come. It's going to be a lot of fun. Secondly is I send market updates every month to my clients. You're going to see those coming through email. So you're going to say, it'll give you an update of like your home value, if you rented it, all sorts of things. We want to give you resources to help you be knowledgeable as a homeowner. Third is resources and referrals. So whenever you're in a house, you might need a painter, you might need a contractor. We have a list of vetted, super quality vendors for you to use. I would love to introduce you to anyone whom you might need. And also something to note is that as soon as you move into a house, you're going to get bombarded with like advertisements of people who want to sell your house, or they might not even knock on your door. So here's my recommendation. If that ever happens and you're considering moving, reach out to me first so that I can give you an accurate estimate of what's going on in the market. Okay. And then lastly, it's kind of this odd thing, but when people are moving, it often becomes a conversation with friends and family that they're thinking of moving. Has that come up at all for you since you guys have moved into your house, that anyone's talked about possibly moving as well? And then end script, right? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what did we cover in that, what was it, 60 seconds, 2 minutes? We talked about how we're going to stay engaged with you with marketing so that you don't just ignore our emails. We talked about our client appreciation event, which if you want more attendance, talk about it sooner. We talked about also how to deal with your competition if they show up and start marketing to your clients.
Yeah.
We also asked directly for referrals, which you will get referrals if you ask that way. So that's what we, so
love this.
if you just added that component with your gift and timed it after the closing, it's going to be great.
Just doing that alone. There you
I
go.
love that.
Yes.
I love that. We do some of that, but there's such another level. That call, I do agree. People that show up with a closing gift at the closing table is the tackiest. It's disrespectful.
Best intentions, but and I think that's the thing. Most of us have the best intentions. We just don't know the unintended consequences sometimes.
Then you watch that buyer or seller walk out with this huge thing going, I don't
know where.
I don't even know where to put this now, right?
I got a van backed up at my house.
Right.
But boy, having that 15 to 30 day break is that's huge. Love that. Okay.
So, how many people are on your staff?
So really simple. So we have two and that are, so it's myself, and we have an admin, and then we have a back end team that does all of our fulfillment. We use a separate company for that, so we don't have to house all the
Got
gifts.
it.
We
Makes
have an
sense.
engraving company that we work with that they house literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of product for clients, and then they will engrave and ship everything out. So we've really removed ourselves a lot from the process outside of sales and fulfillment. Or, I'm sorry, outside of sales and administration. There's not much we have to touch.
That's a fantastic business model.
Completely. Less management of people right
Yes.
now? Yes, please. Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so
So,
great.
as you're giving the gifts and you're talking to, I imagine both lenders and real estate agents are clients of yours, and builders you mentioned, right? Do you go outside of the real estate industry?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who has a builds their business on relationships. That whole scripting that we went through, you can use for so many businesses. I spoke for a group of business owners. One of them was in roofing, so we did a reframe of that whole structure of how you can do this at the end of a roofing job.
Yes.
Right?
Makes sense.
Same thing. Walk up to the buyer. Hey, let's do a quick inspection. How's everything look? Here's your warranty on the home, just so you know about that, or on the roof. And then, oh, by the way, here's a gift that we wanted to give you. Also, since you're here, has anyone else talked about potentially, getting their roof changed? So you can use it for a lot of different industries.
Yeah.
Our bread and butter is real estate and mortgage.
Sure.
Understood. What's your gifts if you had a new agent, a new lender that was coming to you,
Sure.
and maybe they're even new to the industry, or they're trying to revamp their business given the massive change that we've all seen in the industry, and said, I just need, forget about necessarily the fulfillment at this moment as far as I need, an easy system.
Sure.
Everybody needs the easy button.
Right.
But what would you suggest is, if I were to tell you as a coach, what would you want to do as far as gifting, the frequency, the measure by which, the methodology? What would your advice be?
So you're talking about, so let's clarify that. So are you talking about for a new agent to do post-closing for a client, or just in general gifting in their business to people that they meet?
In general, gifting. Like, do you
sure.
have a
Yeah.
cadence to it?
Yeah, well, I
you
can
find
tell
effective?
you what we do. So, because for the most part, we do two types of gifting. We do closing gifts and we do VIP gifts. So we have a VIP gifting campaign. If there's a type of individual you're targeting to build a relationship with, or there's a high value client you want to get more referrals from, we help you build a campaign to love on them, even if they're not buying anything from you. And then our bread and butter is closing gifts. So what I personally do though is we have some fun different gifting. First point is after first point of contact, always do something unique, relevant to the conversation. So I'll tell you a specific one I did last week. This is really funny. So I met with a guy. So he's an EXP agent. He also opened a what's called a success space. So they open a it's like a WeWork, but it's through the brand of Success Magazine. So they're like a trial test. So I went over there, we had lunch, he was telling me about the space. I'm a good referral partner. I always like to love to refer things. I don't know anyone who owns their own office space that they're renting out. So we had a great conversation, and again, I like to ask the questions: story, significance, struggle, right? So what's your story? How'd you get here? I love to ask about people's spouses. Hey, tell me about your spouse. How'd you guys meet? And then S is significant, what's something unique and memorable, and then S is struggle, which is what's hard about your business right now. And so when we were talking, he had said something about his wife, and it was, we met at an airport because she used to I'm going to get the name of the airline wrong. It was Mesa Airlines.
Okay.
He said she got stranded because Mesa Airlines went out of business while she was at the airport.
Oh,
and so
no.
Right. I was like, that's
That's
random.
not me.
Like,
That
that happens, I guess, apparently. So he's like, so literally all the flights got canceled, and she was stuck at the airport, and I happened to be at the airport flying somewhere, and we happened to meet, and I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. So that just stuck with me, and so when I went home, so I love to find something that's really simple, inexpensive, and get it customized with something relevant to the conversation. So I went on Vistaprint.com, pulled up coffee mugs, which were $8, $12. I found the old Mesa Airlines logo. I had it put on the cup, and on the back, there wasn't a quote, but it just kind of words came to me that said, major problems are often just the start of a beautiful story. And I put that on the mugs, and I mailed 2 of them, one for him and one for his wife, with a handwritten card. Now, I also use very unique stationery. We use a company called My Metal Business Card, so we actually have metal stationery. It's a sheet of steel, so people see it, like you can't forget it. And so I sent this thank you card and just said, hey, how much I appreciate our time together, and loved hearing about your devotion to your wife, and this sparked an idea. I hope you guys have many warm conversations over the years to come. And dude, he posted a picture and is like, this is the most thoughtful gift. I can't believe this. If you guys don't know Mr. Thank You got to connect with him. He's got all these comments of people like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Who is this guy? What is this? This is awesome. Yeah. And suddenly I'm getting all these friend requests, and that happens pretty consistently because I try to take something really simple, and that gift netted me, it cost me less than $50. Right, with shipping, fulfillment, customizing. So this doesn't have to be super expensive, but here's what I think. So I would draw this out for you, but be thoughtful with also who you're targeting and focusing on, because I can't do that with every single person I ever talk to, right? That's just unscalable. Right. So when I'm meeting somebody, I'm really looking for 2 things. I'm looking at reach and influence. Who does this person know, and also how influential are they with people that they know? So as an example, if somebody is we have like a little framework we teach, but it's if someone is in the high reach but low influence, we call that a connector. Someone who knows a lot of people, but they're not very deep. Right? Sometimes you get a lot of referrals from these people, but they don't come to fruition because the relationship wasn't very deep, right? And then we have the opposite, which is like the high influence but low reach, right? So this is someone we call a salesperson, which is ultimately they deal one-to-one. My wife is a salesperson, meaning she doesn't know a ton of people, but her relationships are super deep. So if she makes a referral, everybody always does what she says. The third person is we call the market maven, which is the high reach, high influence, which is someone who knows a lot of people, they have a lot of trust, they have a high reach, they have high influence. When I meet someone I can tell that's the case, I want to pour in a little bit extra there because I know what we're going to be able to create together is magical. And so that's how we've built our business is honestly, so I call those linchpin relationships. That's one of our key things we try to teach people how to do. We didn't cover that really today. It was more of a generalized relationships, but I love teaching people how to build linchpin relationships because literally there could be one person you meet that when you meet them and make that connection, not just a connection, but a deep, meaningful, you go further than just who everybody they met that year. They're like, how can I make you win? What do you need? And so it creates these really remarkable relationships. So do want to give a shout out because my mentor, John Rulin, wrote a book called Giftology.
He wrote. I love that book.
Yeah, so he wrote. Fantastic. So John's a good friend and mentor of mine. So he taught me everything I know about gifting. So I have to give credit where credit's due. But we are practitioners of it. So we look at as we build a relationship, how do we take this further? Mm-hmm. And again, trying to pour in first. Always give first before you ask, because I will ask, but I'm going to give probably 2 or 3 times before I do that. Yeah.
So it's undeniable at that point. You're going to say yes.
And I'm going to ask something that they can say yes to. A lot of times it's a big introduction, right? So I can give you another example of this. So we have do you guys know who Todd Duncan is? Mm-hmm. Todd Duncan, Sales Mastery, big coach in the mortgage space. So in my business, we have it's always good to have dream clients. Who's your dream client you want to work with? Well, I read Todd's book, High Trust Selling, when I was like 23, just getting into sales. Such a great book. And I was like, wow, this guy exists somewhere on the planet, and he's real. And then I happened, right when I was starting to speak on Mr. Thank You, we spoke at the same event. And I was like, oh, man, like this is tough. So what I do immediately, I sent them the handwritten metal thank you card, Turns out he loved it so much. When he presents now, he uses my card on stage in front of thousands of people every year explaining it.
Right.
And then with that, I've just continued to, hey, I'm in town, let's get together for lunch. And I'm trying to just not ask for anything. And there was one day when he put a post up on social media and literally said, hey, we're getting our speakers lined up for our Sales Mastery event, our 30th anniversary. Who do you guys want to see? And I just shot him a little DM and I said, hey, Todd, hey, we've had some great conversations. I know you've got a big stage. It might be too much to ask, but man, if the opportunity exists, I would love the chance to meet your audience to speak from stage. And he's like, absolutely. So I got to stand in front of 1,800 of my ideal clients for $0 while there was another gifting company outside paying $10,000 for a booth.
Nice.
So
Yes.
when I look at this from the perspective of part of this is being aware of who is your ideal client. Are you targeting them? Are you aware of their needs, their goals? Where are you associating yourself with them? And what are you intentionally doing to build those relationships? Or are you just building relationships with whoever shows up?
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think if you want to grow your business, we have to start looking for those linchpin relationships, because that speech with Todd, I could probably point out 6 figures of business that has come because I got to be on his stage. Yeah.
Wow. I love this so much. This is how we built our business.
Yes.
It's give when they don't expect it.
Yeah.
It's I always preach to our team, anticipation is everything, right? Answer the question before they have to ask it. But the gifts just drive it home. And I think today when I read that, the unreasonable hospitality, I keep coming back to, and then this, it's absolutely just pounding back to me when we talk about let's get back to basics, let's get back to the principles of being in relationships with each other. This is what it is, and just honoring each other. And I think right now where our industry is this is what we need with each other. It's what we need with our clients and the public. It's a reestablishing of a relationship that maybe has been a little bit tainted, and that's how I'm approaching it. So the opportunity for us to shine is massive right now, I believe, because there's not a lot of expectation. Gifting is increasing that expectation.
Yeah. And on a side note, going to your question of like a new agent, a simple thing is to start with just a really thoughtful thank you letter. That's going to cost you 50 cents, maybe $1 with the stamp. That might be your best start right now. I talked to one of my clients who is a really high producer out of Arizona, and she said, when I started in business, I was broke as a joke. I had no money to my name. Nobody knew me, but I was out there meeting people. And so the way I did it was she's like, I was a stationery nerd. So I would just buy paper and I would literally cut the paper. I would cut the paper, make a card for somebody, and I would mail it to them after we met. And they saw the thoughtfulness because each card probably took me 30 minutes. They saw the thoughtfulness and were like, this is someone special. Yeah. And she said, that's how I started building my business, by just taking something simple and being more thoughtful with it. Because how many emails are your clients getting, or your prospects getting? How many marketing letters are they getting in the mail? How many personalized messages are they getting from somebody who actually cares about their well-being, not just wanting to get their business? Not many.
Right.
So you can let gratitude be your competitive advantage if you start really small.
I think that's going to be my tagline.
I know,
Let
right?
Gratitude be my competitive advantage. Because I so believe in gratitude, but to actually have tactical experiences that I can put into play and put into action, like leaving this conversation.
Totally. Walking out the door and
So
go.
I think that's the win, is to how to live in it fully. Not just embrace it, because it's one thing. I embrace living in gratitude, but then how do I live in it fully? And so many of us, especially in this industry, we're so overwhelmed by all of the negative bias that it's so quick to forget.
Yeah.
And by pulling yourself out, you had made mention of changing that. You told the story of the basketball game.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think we have time for the whole
It's
story right
amazing.
now, because if you missed Agent Ignite today,
Gonzaga
little
alum.
plug.
A Gonzaga alum.
it was
Woo!
awesome.
Go Zags.
but I loved how you turned that. And how many negative experiences are we in this industry having daily?
Hourly.
Right? With the disappointment of a client, or the disappointment of a vendor, or disappointment of a relationship, or sometimes even disappointment in yourself. Like you lost that deal and you're like, why did you lose that deal? Right? So, but to be able to turn every single one of those into this opportunity for gratitude, this opportunity to lift, and to be really positive about everything. And if I can change even one of those a day, and then 2 of those a day, and then all of those a day, that's game-changing and life-changing. Yeah. So for that, and just opening the awareness of it was kind of cool. And thank you so much for doing that today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I think if I could say anything, it's thank you.
Yes.
Like
You're
truly, it is awesome.
Yes.
I want to finish with this line. If fulfillment is the finish line, gratitude is the starting line. That is how I'm going to wake up in the
Who
morning.
said that?
It was not me. I'm just
last thing
reading
I
over
said.
it.
I know.
I'm scribbling notes. I'm
was
taking pictures of screens. I'm like, this is gold. But that
Yes,
one,
agreed.
I'm going to start my morning habits with that in mind. If fulfillment's the finish line, let the starting line be the gratitude piece and just live in that and lean into that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited. You guys pick this up.
Hey, guys.
Yes,
How
please.
how can we get in touch with Mr. Thank You?
That's what I was going to get to, y'all. I'm on this. First of all, the
Yeah.
book. You can't see this.
He's new here.
The Mr. Thank You Project, John Israel. This is such a cool book. I'm getting it signed. Yes. But beyond that, yes, I connected to. I don't do social much, but when you put up
for
your
you.
socials, I immediately connected with you. So Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. How can
Yeah.
we connect with you?
Yeah. So two things. So my website's mrthankyou.com. So mrthankyou.com. And then my we've changed all my socials. This is a fun fact. We'll give him some publicity on accident. So there's another Mr. Thank You who showed up, who's like this Russian playboy who gives away free money to random strangers, calling himself Mr. Thank You.
Oh,
Well, there
and,
you go.
And so so he's got 17 million followers on
Oh,
Instagram now. And but he's also done some pretty shady things, and we've done some research on him. So we're like, we need to keep separate a little bit. So everything is just my name, JohnIsrael.me.
Got
I
it.
think that's even better.
JohnIsrael.me.
You
Yeah.
are
Super
the
easy.
gift, my friend.
That's it.
Yes.
But MrThankYou.com, you can find about gifting and any consulting, any of that kind of stuff with you.
Love
Fabulous.
this.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Mr. Justin Knoll, for making it fun.
Here we go.
Yes.
It's always the best time. You
Yeah.
guys keep joining us. We're going to keep doing all we can to bring great guests like John. What do you got for us?
Oh, just one more thing. So I didn't mention this today, but did you guys, as listeners, I don't know if you guys know this, you guys ever heard the 5 Love Languages book?
Yes.
All right, so what are they? There's affirmations, gifts.
God, oh my God.
Physical
touch.
Physical touch. Small acts. Isn't
Acts of
that-
service.
Acts of service.
and then quality time, something like that.
Okay.
Do you guys know there's a 6th one?
No.
And both of these guys have it. It's called referrals.
Oh.
Because when they get a referral,
Yes.
they feel so much warmth and love inside. So if you watch this video, you get value. Send these guys some referrals.
Oh, that's
Work
the
with them.
best.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Can you just stay here with us all the time? please?
Like I said, I try to be the guy who's in between you and your favorite person, and I try to make that relationship as good as it possibly can be.
That's the
So
greatest
that's
mission.
who I am for you.
I love it. John, thank you so
You got it.
much. This was
Absolutely, guys.
great. You guys tune in for more. We're going to have more content coming your way.
Bye.